Today I will talk about quantitative research. You have already studied about qualitative research in our previous video clip. Today I will explain to you what is quantitative research all about. Now, when we compare the two types of research, qualitative and quantitative research, there's no such thing as the pure qualitative or pure quantitative. Each research will need to make use of both qualitative and quantitative. The composition of the two things can designate the type of research you are conducting. For example, if from chapter 1 to chapter 6, the last chapter, we are not talking about 5 chapters anymore, because this is very bad understanding. As you have already known, research comprised of 6 parts. Part 1, introduction. Part 2, review of literature. Part 3, research methodology. Part 4, data analysis. Part 5, research findings or major findings. And part 6, publication of your research. You call it summary of your research. So there need to be at least 6 chapters. Now, if any research make use of mostly judgment, interpretation, and a decision as to what is good and what is bad, what is right and what's wrong, what is appropriate or not appropriate. This type of research is qualitative research. It's up to your subjective, your diagnosis and your judgment. Okay. But if most of your research based on the findings of your surveys, your statistical finding, sampling techniques, so on and so forth, that research is called quantitative research. But I'll tell you this: if you make use of about 20% or less of statistical data or numbers or whatever it is, your research will be qualitative. But if you base on your interpretation, your analysis on statistical data more than or about 80%, that research is quantitative research. For example, in what the research that I am telling you now, I will explain to you the type of research appropriate or suitable for a doctoral degree. That is research and development type, or we call it R&D type. There are 3 levels of R&D. The first one is very basic one, or pure R&D. Is the research that you develop some very or totally new prototype. We call it innovative prototype. This is called basic R&D or pure R&D. Okay, this one is allowed for those who are working for doctoral degree in the so-called research-based format, or in Thailand we call Type 1. Type 1.1 for those who receive master degrees, and 1.2 for those who receive bachelor's degree and study for PhD straight ahead, 8 years. They will have to conduct the pure or basic R&D. But for those who study Type 2 doctoral degree based on research, also research oriented, but you need to take at least 12 credits of coursework. So it becomes 36 credits plus 12 is 48 credits. This is the minimum requirement by the Ministry of Education in Thailand, or now it's Ministry of Higher Education. Okay. So I'm now talking to most of you who belong to Type 2 doctoral degree, which is a research degree plus coursework, 36 plus 12, or you'll be required to study 42 plus so forth up to 60 credit or 72 credit, whatever. But the minimum is 48 credits. So for those who belong to Type 2, 2.1, because you have finished your master's degree, 2.1, you will have to conduct the research to promote, to enhance academic and professional work. Okay, made a difference. Okay, but for Type 1, you have to explore the new knowledge. You have to introduce the new innovative prototype. But for your group, you belong to 2.1, you will make use of some already existing theories or models or system, and you top it up. So we call this type of R&D applied R&D. Now this is the second type. The first type is pure or basic R&D. But you belong to the second group, Type 2.1. So most of you are allowed to do the so-called applied R&D to top up what other people have been doing. For example, when they started to introduce post-care model, post-care system of management, I top it up from post-COP. Post-COP model was introduced by Professor Gulick and Ulrich in 1937. So I top it up to become post-care. So this is similar. You are able to do so. Pick up some of the original theories and then modify to suit your context. Okay.